Okay, I see we are on. I should turn the cameras off, but it's all good. We're just popping in. We're popping in. Hey, everyone. Hello. Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are doing well. We are here April 25th. My name is Auset Eyowaku. We have Maitreya here. Maitreya, are you going to even say your full name? Am I kind of like, is it incomplete? Or is that cool? Because I want to make sure I get the name
actually,
right.
I wanted to, well, obviously Maitreya is the name that everyone's known me by, but I'm going back to my original name, Naomi Elliott.
Here we go.
Everyone knows me as Maitreya.
Absolutely. And you know, I did that on purpose because today we're talking about cosmic integration and the importance of truly claiming yourself through your sovereignty, especially through your cosmic ID and how you identify yourself cosmically. We're going to get into a lot during this conversation. There's so much to go over. You know how we do, we kind of just flow with each other. So organically, so that's what it is, but mostly we are most definitely talking about the importance of cosmic integration. Hello, everyone coming in. Hello. Definitely want to give just a couple of minutes for our peeps to come on in before we get started officially. But yeah, man, cosmic integration, that has been the biggest thing for me, as the same has been for you. Claiming all parts of self, again, not only through name, but through feeling, through vibration. And, you know, there's so many ways to do that. And that's what we're going to get into today. So yes, Maitreya, how are you?
I'm really well.
You're no stranger here. You know, and according to the people, I was clearly talking too much last time, you know. So
it's all good. We all family out here, you know. It's not even a thing.
And I just want to say, just to get it straight, that this is not an interview, guys. This is a discussion. All right. So Maitreya and I, we're going to be flowing back and forth, you know. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there. So but yeah, so just tell the people a little bit about yourself, just to get things started, for those of you who are not for those who are not necessarily familiar with you or your work, and then we'll just get right into it.
Okay, so hello everyone. Most of you may know me as Maitreya. Some of you may know me as Naomi. They're all parts of self, so you can call me whichever you feel you resonate with. I am an astrologer, and I also work in the area of self-discovery, and I love to be able to use this as an effective tool to really highlight subconscious influences and learning how to be able to uncover them, navigate them, working through them, breaking through them, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of moving into an interesting venture, learning how to integrate all of those things into business. So for those who are entrepreneurs who want to learn how to be able to utilize stuff like astrology and self-discovery to really effectively shape out your brand, really bring in personality, all that kind of stuff. That's what I do. I really dig into the connections between mental health and spirituality, and even seeing those correlations through the astrological chart. And I guess that's kind of like my niche and where I kind of sit. Just again, the whole subconscious influences thing. So I guess that's kind of like a brief overview of the things that I do. I'm a Gemini, so I can flitter into loads of different things. It's just the way I am, but I guess that's just a condensed version of how to be able to express what I do.
Well, thank you for that. And yes, your language in astrology and how you read it is pretty amazing. Did you get a chance to watch the video that I did yesterday on Saturn and Jupiter?
I got up to Jupiter. I still need to finish watching the rest of it.
Okay.
That was good.
yeah. So just kind of and there was a few things that I just wanted to go over just for a couple of minutes, just to kind of make a few things just a bit more clear from yesterday. So before we get started, I just wanted to pull up that that picture again from yesterday. And just in case you didn't watch the video yesterday that I did a video where I spoke about the connection between Jupiter and Saturn, and how those connections are relevant to today, especially even with what's going on in the world today and so on. So this will definitely segue us into the conversation of integration anyway. So I'll just pull this picture up really quickly. And Maitreya, feel free to dive in if you'd like to as well, because again, we're speaking cosmic language here. So just to do a quick recap from yesterday, yesterday I spoke about how the rings of Saturn basically are disappearing, and they're disappearing for a reason, because there was some sort of cosmic divorce between Jupiter and Saturn. And when I said cosmic divorce, what I meant necessarily was the cosmic chains, the marriage, or the marriage between the dark cabal and time. That was what was controlling the energies of Jupiter, which I feel and I sense brings a lot of the heart energy. It's a big heart. It's thunder. It's thunder and lightning. It's that beat within the universe. It's one of the oldest, or it is the oldest within the solar system. So I was seeing Saturn as a more so masculine energy, but I also wanted to make it clear that Saturn is feminine as well. All right, we need to make sure that we're integrating the masculine and feminine when we're talking about these cosmic energies, because the main mission, at least for me and what I'm expressing, is restoration. And in order to restore cosmic energies, the poles of the masculine and feminine must be in tune and must be in sync. So yes, I was referring to Saturn as he, all right, and father, but just let it be known that there's that feminine aspect of Saturn as well. And it's the same for Jupiter. I know I kind of went into a little frenzy about Zeus, claiming the thunder and the lightning and the supreme of all, and I, in the way that I expressed Jupiter's energy, I was basically saying that the thunder, or the sound, does come before the light in a sense, and that there should be some kind of acknowledgement towards that. So I was basically, again, in my expression, making sure that I rearranged that in my speech and in my intention, but again, also recognizing the masculine aspect of Jupiter. So I'm just here to again, restore in my language on because we're dealing with cosmic energies here. We're dealing with macro energies. And when we're dealing with macro energies, there's a direct influence on the earthly plane. Okay, so this is the big game here that we're talking about. We're not talking about the small game. We're not talking about the race game. We're not talking about any of that. We're up in space right now, which is really inside. So we're dealing with the cosmos inside. One more thing that I wanted to mention was that I know that I said yesterday about the sun here being grandmother's son, and I did acknowledge grandfather. So I want to give the sun, from my expression, its rightful name. And there's the Sa and there's the Ra. So there's Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. Okay, so I just wanted to express those masculine and feminine energies when we're talking about our central sun. That allows life to flow throughout the solar system here. And another thing, and we'll go through this in other videos as well, because there's so much to talk about, or Maitreya, maybe we can go into it if you feel, the need to, if it flows in that direction with the other planets. So Maitreya, yesterday I did say, because you didn't get up to that part, but I mentioned that what I was sensing was that Saturn and Jupiter are no longer married, but they work together, and if they like each other, they can date. Like, it's the heart and the mind. So the heart and the mind has a relationship, and, let the heart and the mind just be, and allow that those energies to explore each other organically. So there's no pressure for these two, you know what I mean? But I was basically also saying that these two are the parents of Earth. and Earth has been looking for her parents. So the thing is, I was talking about Earth yesterday because it was relevant to the conversation, but let's not forget about the other siblings. Let's not forget about the other archetypes. We have Venus, we have Mars, we have Mercury, and there's also a story within that and how they also connect to Earth and Jupiter and Saturn. And we have the other planets such as Neptune, Uranus, and so forth. So again, there's a whole story, but we're slowly putting the pieces back together and we're doing it collectively. So I just wanted to bring that to the table and just make some clarifications from yesterday and just continuing on today as we talk about cosmic integration, because these are the energies we're dealing with, guys. And as I said yesterday, the energies are inside of us. So where's your time? Where's your Saturn? Where's your mind? Where's your memories? Where's your heart space? How are you dealing with your inner thunder? How are you dealing with your body, your earth? And how are you dealing with your passion, your desire, your warrior spirit? How are you dealing with your Mercury, your curious spirit? Are you a traveler? Are you, so what are we doing here? What aspects of ourselves are we really getting to know so that we can truly claim and activate these parts of us? So with that being said, Maitreya, was there anything that you wanted to add? Because I know that you are very well versed in the archetypes themselves, or did you want to just start off with something else and we can go back to that?
We can come back to it. I feel like everything will kind of flow out naturally. But yeah, we can kind of go back to that.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I know there was a few things that you wanted to express. So shoot.
Okay, so it's interesting because I was watching back our video that we did the last time, and I just can't help but feel how relevant that video is for the times that we're going in right now, and even looking at today, and certain laws and bills that have been passed that are almost being passed to strip away our freedoms, literally. I feel like the conversation of sovereignty is more important now than ever. And I know this has been a recurrent kind of theme that we've all been speaking about in terms of like learning to reclaim yourself. I know that you yourself, Auset, have mentioned this before. I know that I've mentioned it on my channel. And I know a few other people are kind of, tapping into this area of being able to reclaim self. But even just going into a bit about just even how I came on the live, I had to reintroduce myself. And I feel like this is the energy that a lot of us are going to have to go through, this process of reintroduction, because with this being 2020, clarity, 2020 vision, we're finally able to see self for who self really is, as opposed to the projections of everything else that's been projected out at us. I've been saying a lot on my channel how we are literally on our own timelines. Our timelines isn't intermingled with each other. It's not this person's reality is going to affect this, like if this person does this, it's going to affect that, which is what I feel like they're trying to bring in right now with this whole social distancing. Because it's like, I'm in UK, in London, you guys are in America, but we're all under the same situation, being exposed to the same scenario. Everything is affecting us, but I feel like a lot of that is a cover-up for us being able to recognize that you are actually on your own timeline. You are sovereign of your own timeline, and you have the right to engage or not to engage in a timeline that doesn't resonate with you. And I feel like it's important to remember that in these times right now, because they are projecting so much fear, so much anxiety that is designed to take you on a spiral of anxiety, like and speed that up so that it becomes easier for you to fall in line. If you're scared, what are you going to do? You have to now put yourself in a position where someone can now guide you, someone can now be like, oh no, it's okay, this is already sorted. But this is a time where we really need to be totally grounded in self, because stuff is going to come, like, and you need to be able to be in control of self. And if yourselves are all over the place, floating on loads of different timelines and dimensions, you're not going to be in control of yourself. You're literally going to be scattered, you're going to be fragmented, and this is all of the stuff that's going to project back at you and create a whole crazy mental health disaster.
Yeah, a lot of mental, yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because what I also notice is that what's happening now, and it's interesting that you texted me and told me that the movie Us came out 2017 this time. Was it
Get Out? Get Out.
Oh, Get Out.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Well, Get Out. Jeez, man, that was oof.
Yeah.
So either way, what I'm noticing is that there are fragments, as you spoke about the fragments scattered around. We're going to, or a lot of people are going to encounter, I'm bringing up the movie Us, their doppelganger, right? Opposition doppelganger, but with wearing a different face. So the mask for the COVID-19, right? The mask is also symbolic because we're speaking subconscious language. So in 3D, people are just wearing masks because they're scared to catch the corona, right? But at the same time, behind the scenes and in that subconscious language and cosmic world, people are literally wearing masks now. So you are running into people, and some people, even in your immediate circle, are now being activated, and we are being faced with each other. And if there are certain things about yourself that you have not dealt with, it will manifest in a physical situation and person so that you can deal with it and you can collect that piece. And it's not overpowering that piece, it's integrating so that it's no longer an issue. So a lot of people are meeting their matches in all sense of the word, whether we got twin flaming going on, we got like, all of that kind of stuff going on, but it's not what you think it is. It's mirrors, shattered pieces of mirrors finding their way back to become whole. And some of us are really working on that journey. And those are the people who will truly activate their full vehicle so that they're able to travel through these cosmos on their own timeline, as you said.
Yeah, it's so important, because it's like, this is the journey that I had to learn myself. And for some of you guys know my story of what happened in the whole mental health situation. Now, me talking about it now, yes, I'm very calm. But going through that whole situation, yes, I did have an element of calmness that I'm grateful that I had, because had I gone crazy, like, that would have been a completely different scenario for me. But those are very real situations that I had to deal with, that I literally had to hold my head down because these are very real things that, and he was talking about the shadows and stuff, because a lot of this is what happens in your dark night of the soul as well. It's all of your shadows that are being reflected back to you. But the problem is, we only like to identify with the light parts of our shadows or our selves, or it's so much easier, because it's like, oh, this is good, people can accept this, this is what can shine. But all of those dark parts of yourself, you reject. And you don't want any part of that. But there's also intelligence in that dark. Why is that there? Like, no one wants to explore the why. Like, it's just, okay, that's dark, close the door, it doesn't exist. But that's a whole part of yourself that you haven't allowed yourself to accept.
That's the 97% of self. Don't you only want to stick to 3% of the light stuff, or do you really want to swim in that cosmic ocean of yourself?
It's the thing where this darkness is where depth is. Light is shallow. Dark has depth. So the more that you dig into your dark, you'll actually understand why you have substance. What is actually creating a substance? What is creating a foundation for you? So say for example, your shadow is a bit wild, it will go and snap someone's head off, it could probably kill someone. You may be afraid of that because society is like, okay, that's something that can't be done. You don't behave like that. It's not civilized behavior. However, put yourself in a different situation, in a scenario where that is necessary. That's a powerful gift that you have, but you reject it. And what happens is that we end up, because we shy away from the shadow, we don't have enough experience with that shadow. So when it comes up when we're triggered. Or when we're most happy, when you're most yourself. But most of the times when it comes up when you're triggered, you don't have any control over it because you haven't had experience with it. You don't know it. You actually don't know what that is. So you just allow yourself to get taken over, which is why you demonize it.
And it possesses you.
Right. It possesses you, but it is you. It's a part of you. Why is that there? Like, why doesn't anyone want to ask the whys and ask, how did this get there? What is it teaching me? What am I supposed to learn from this aspect of my personality? What was it here to guide me through? How can I utilize it in the future? Like, really breaking it apart and not just seeing it as, oh my gosh, this is a really bad part. There's nothing that is bad. It all is just, everything is whole. We like to fragment it to understand it. But the illusion is separation. If we were to look at the yin yang symbol, okay, yes, you see the light, yes, you see the dark. However, it looks like it's spinning, right? With that curve. So if it spins, do you see color? You don't. It's merged into one. And that's the place that we need to be bringing ourselves into this place where we're no longer afraid of ourselves, us. We're afraid of ourselves or the potential of what we could do. The potential of what we could be. It's almost like that fear of success. Like, what is that? How does that even make sense to be fearful of success and then to create sabotaging situations where you want to be successful, but then you've got this whole level of sabotage you create to prevent yourself from getting to that place? Like, why does that happen? Where is that actually coming from? So I feel like we have to begin to really be real with ourselves. I know a lot of the time we say we need to do the work, we need to do the work, we need to do the work. No, but this is a time where we don't actually have any time. Like, time no longer exists. Everything is crashing in front of us. And I said, I don't know if it was on the live with you or if it was a live that I did. I'm sure it was with you when I was talking. It was around the time of September, and there was that whole Virgo stellium, and I was like, we need to get into our bodies right now. Like, get out of the astrals and get in your body.
Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I remember when we had our private conversation, you made a really good point where you said where most people are trying to ascend, right? This is actually kind of not that time. I mean, we're all on our individual journeys, of course, and there is ascension taking place within ourselves. But overall, this is a time to capture that part of you that has already ascended or is already ascended and allow it to anchor into your body, right? So is that what you mean when you said, get into your body, or do you want to go a little bit?
Yeah, because it's like we are everything there. Like, timeline or time is so messed up because the past, present, and future is all in one. So all of the things that we're trying to attain, it's already there, but our perception may not be able to align to it. But if we just recognize, again, like, there's nothing that I need to gain. You already have it. All you're learning is how to remember what's already there. So the giftings that you have, like, I wasn't taught how to operate in my giftings. It was activated instantly. I was taught in the moment. And it's because these are things that are already embedded in me. I'm not learning how to do readings. I'm not learning how to do astrology. I'm not learning anything. I'm remembering. These are things that I've already done. I've already mastered. And that's why it becomes so natural to me. My language naturally kind of speaks in astrology. It's just, it just is that, because it's always been me. It's not a new addition. It's not like, from a child, I was already studying the solar systems, watching documentaries, and I actually wanted to be a helioseismologist. So I didn't just come into astrology, into the conscious community, like when the conscious communities became trendy. Like, I was already on my journey, being attracted and drawn to these things. So now this is just the natural place for me to sit, because it's natural for me. But I feel like a lot of the times, because we don't understand self, and we're not comfortable with self, and we're so insecure with self, the ideals of everything that's being projected to us looks so much better, looks so much more appealing, looks so much more attractive. Like, the grass is greener on the other side. When it's like, if you actually just learn to embrace what you already have, who you already are. It's like embracing. I said, I was talking about this on my channel, and I was talking about the puzzle pieces and us all feeling like we're the only one. Like, there's not, like, there's so many different fragments of a song. You've got verses, you've got choruses, you've got bridges, you've got middle eights, you've got chords, you've got single notes, you've got melodies, you've got all of these different things. Not everything plays exactly the same way, but it all creates a beautiful song, right? Each component is sovereign in itself. It knows itself, it's strong in itself, and it comes together to make an effective song. And I feel like when we begin to understand or put that perspective into what's happening in reality with us, like me and you are set, like, we're in the same field, but we're two individuals.
Oh yeah, we're not going to paint the same painting. We're not going to sing the same song. We're not going to use the same tones, but we have mutual respect and acknowledgement that we are artists within our own right, within this thing called life, and that's the beautiful thing, because we can collaborate in ways that just transcends what's already there. There's not enough inventing. There's a lot of re this and re that, just re everything, reruns, remixing. But who's inventing? Where's the inventors? And that's who we are, because we are acknowledging all of these parts of ourselves that have been not expressed for all this time. So this is the perfect time, 2020. Even forget about the year within itself, the energies, and we're reading the energies right now. If no one told us it was 2020, I feel like people like you and I would already know that this is still a time to really start from a 0 point of view in rebuilding ourselves, right? Rebuilding in order to invent, in order to produce, in order to create. So I feel this is a very abundant time, but again, I'm seeing it from a different lens, only because I've collected a few and a lot of pieces of self, and whatever else is out there, I got you. I'm not going to fight you. And if you, go ahead.
The thing though, like, we're moving into the age of Aquarius, and this is where the deception of the new age community has come in to present this idea of oneness and togetherness and all of that. And that, what we're not seeing is that this idea of oneness and togetherness is actually this AI agenda. It's robots. It's creating people that are exactly the same, who believe the same things, who do the same things. And that's not how it works, because how are we individuals? Aquarius is an individual within a collective. It respects its collective, it loves humanity, it loves it, but it understands its individuality and its independence within its collective. And so this is going to be a very, very interesting time, because those that have been regurgitating and remixing and all, that's going to be seen a lot now, because invention is the energy of where we're moving into. Like, what do you have to offer? Because the many people have made many offers already. Like, we've got loads of greats, you know, that have been, this is the time of the changing of the guards, and you can see a lot of greats transitioning right now as we speak, and it's gonna increase more, like, as we get into the year. But in the Bible, it talks about mantles that are passed down, like with Elijah and Elisha, and that switch and that changing in the guard between generations, and two completely different ideologies, the traditional and the futuristic, and all of that is what's happening right now. And so we have to be brave enough to take on that mantle and create something new. So our ancestors, yes, Egypt, Mayan civilizations, Aztecs, Olmecs, all of these great civilizations, they've done well. However, we're not here to recreate that. They've already created, and we're trying to remix and regurgitate what's already been done when we don't even understand how they did it. We still don't even understand how they made pyramids. Like, we still don't understand these things. We can speculate and create all of these different ideas, but we don't know anyone back then to actually have a conversation with and be like, this is exactly how we created it.
But see, it's funny because you find that information in the dark. When you go in the dark, you get all the answers. And the thing is, number one, a lot of the entities that run the light show are afraid of the dark. They can't see in the dark. They can't feel in the dark because they're disconnected from their heart space. Therefore, the code is foreign to them. So this is why I even see a lot of these entities constantly digging in Egypt and digging up these tombs, and because they're trying to crack these codes and resurrect and bring back these energies. And they have no idea what they're messing with because they don't speak the code of true, pure darkness. I'm not talking about evil dark. They don't speak others.
The mysteries of the spirit, what Jesus was talking about. This is what I don't understand with Christians. You guys talk about Jesus and you advere him, but the very things that he talks about, the mysteries of the kingdom, like, and seeking the mysteries and uncovering that, no one's talking about that. We're still on surface shit. Like, we still haven't got past the surface of, like, we know there were parables, so why are you taking it as literal? Where is your decoding of what that actually means? Have you gone into self and meditated and been able to bring out your own perspective? And that may not align from anyone else, because one of the things that became very difficult for me in my own journey, and this is why I'm so passionate about all of this, because genuinely this was a part of my journey of learning how to integrate into self and learning how to be more confident with myself. Because when you're not confident, everyone else's perspective sounds better than yours. Everyone else's truth sounds better than yours. And you know, and especially this is why I'm grateful that the experience I went through with the whole mental health system didn't actually impact me as it could have done, because that could have taken another element and suppressed me deeper into myself to not actually feel like I could embody myself. Because I said this on my channel the other day, I had to be in a position where I'm locked down, just like what is happening right now. I'm locked down in a mental institution, fighting to be myself.
Right. Wait, Maitreya. Okay. So first of all, back in 2017, you had an experience where you were pulled into a mental institution against your will, and they really did a number on you. Okay. And you expressed some of that as well. And the thing is, you went through the simulation for what's happening today, because the world is one big mental institution right now. Literally, everyone is locked up. Everyone is on lockdown. I'm like, are we in prison? Like, for real? Like, if I wanted to go out to dinner and have a drink with a friend, I can't.
Right.
This is our reality.
I can't even go to my uncle's funeral. Like, that's how much lockdown You're on. I had to stream my uncle's funeral online.
Oh, that's insane. I'm so sorry that you had to even like that's even a part of your experience now.
It's crazy. Like, this is the reality of what this is bringing, but this is what this lockdown is bringing. But it's also like what the key is, and this is why I'm actually quite calm, because I had to learn this from being in the mental institution.
Already, right?
Your anxiety doesn't help that situation. You being anxious about this not being able to be your reality is not going to change what is happening. Like, it's okay, this is what's happening right now. Okay, I'm locked down, but I'm still free in myself, in my home, and whatever, I can still do whatever I'm doing. Like, forget what is going on out there. Like, forget, like, because they're trying to troll everyone in the thing of, like, it's the whole fear-mongering, like army coming in, all of the, and the reason and why they're playing on it is because everyone has been exposed to conspiracy theories. So when they start putting certain stuff in front of you and you start seeing the army and you're like, oh my gosh, martial law, this, that, da, 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 you're triggered by all of the conspiracy theories that you've been exposed to. And it's not to say that there's nothing wrong with conspiracy theories, but what I'm saying is that they are trolling you. They are literally trolling you.
They're speaking to people's fears, worst fears.
They're speaking to your fears and allowing your fears to manifest your reality. And and on my video, I made the connection towards I'm not going to say the word, but the Rona and consciousness and the sun, because I did a video before this whole thing came up, and I was talking about the potentials of a financial crash, and how solar activity was a major contributor in any type of financial crash or grid shutdown. The sun is corona, right? The sun crown, right? Sun crown, right? Your mind, your consciousness. So they are literally trolling your consciousness of the consciousness movement as well. And everything that the conscious, because even though, yes, there's a lot of conspiracy theories and some may be able to be credible, but there's a lot that are not, and it's a complete reach, and we just need to stop. Again, this is just anxiety consciousness mixed all in, and it's not doing anyone any justice.
You know, I feel like it's a social experiment.
Of course it is.
It's a human experiment, and it's working only because it's people actually manifesting their own sickness, to be honest. We have the ability to do that. If the media tells a person who is completely unaware of themselves and how powerful their minds are, media is telling you this is what to expect, this is what's happening, this is it constantly, then the person is going to, the anxious person and the fearful person is going to develop the actual thing that the media is telling you that you have or that you're going to catch.
Right.
If the media didn't say not one goddamn thing about this thing and everyone was just out and about, this wouldn't even be a thing.
Do you know how this spread? This spread through social media. That's how this thing spread.
Social media spread the virus. The irony. And it's the new, it's right. The new, yeah, this is the new way officially. I mean, they're about to change the digital currency over, right, to digital currency. So they're even changing how they spread viruses to digital.
You spread it to yourselves. And then what happens is bird box, you kill yourself.
Right. It is bird box.
And I said this on the last live that we was talking about. They're literally going to set you up to where you can kill your own self. You kill yourself.
You said you read something, there was a bill that you shared that is about to, or that they're about to pass in the US and UK.
Yeah. So,
and this is why we're doing this video as well, just to contribute to the conversation of sovereignty and true cosmic integration, because that is your protection. And of course, all of the 3D stuff that you need to do, that is your responsibility. You are a grown person. Get your shit together, start being creative. What can you do? What can you place on digital to share with the people? Share your gifts. Just believe in yourself. Get yourself right. Like physically, health-wise, relationship-wise. We know that is a thing to do, but on a cosmic and metaphysical and spiritual level, that right there is actually what dictates your physical. So get yourself right there. That is true armor. And people are, oh, that's bullshit. Like, not when the National Guard's come to my door trying to pull me out. Where's the metaphysics? And it's just like, if you was dealing with the metaphysics, the National Guards wouldn't even come to your house. And that's real.
And you know what's real as well? Let me say this there as well. Sorry?
What were you saying? Because I think there's a little delay. So I think I tripped over what you were saying.
This timeline split is very real. And it's going to get even more frustrating because I'm seeing it in myself. If you see, like, literally society is on a hive mind right now on everything that is being projected through the media, and those that are literally watching back and just being like, what? I will not be gaslit by this bullshit. Now what's happening is that the ones that are on a hive mind are attacking the ones that can see.
Yeah.
And seeing them as a threat. You're now the threat. I had someone say, because of my perspective, I'm the reason why people are dying. I was like, go blame your government, because this is what they want. They want us to fight each other and actually miss the true revolution of what potentially could happen. Because what if we all got together and actually started seeing what was actually going on, and we stand up and we realize that they're actually playing a game on our back? When you stand up, it's over.
It's interesting, Maitreya, that I want to take it a step further, because there was something that I felt. This whole thing that's happening with the virus, I personally don't think that it's the government. I actually think this is extraterrestrial technology.
Of course.
Now,
it's a mixing.
Right, it is. Right. And the government, the governments are actually scrambling. I don't think the governments are, they're still finding their way to position themselves, but they're actually in trouble. The government is in trouble.
And now, they're not on the same page either.
No, they're all not on the same page, because they're dealing with fragments of themselves, right? Like everyone else, they're not exempt from that process. But there's this, and when I say extraterrestrial, what I'm saying, and tell me what you feel about this, the extraterrestrial are the humans, right? And we've been here, right? Then we have Homo sapiens that have not, and it's not like in a way of saying higher, lower hierarchy, I'm better. And I always have to put out that disclaimer, but they're Homo sapiens, and there are humans. When I say that, I mean, there are some people who have not yet became fully aware of themselves, and they are operating off of the lower grids within the matrix. Those are Homo sapiens, right? The humans are the ancient ones. So when we're calling ourselves human, what we're doing is for those who haven't gotten to the human experience yet, because they're still on the matrix grid, the lower matrix grid, human experience is an aspiration to Homo sapien experience. So you want to become human. You don't come into this world human if you're not completely self-aware. So human to me personally means a person who has evolved into themselves through their emotional spectrum, through their full, just making their way up their consciousness ladder. And there's a point where there's breaking the ceiling of the lower matrix grids that just controls everyone like Sims, right? When you break through that ceiling of self and the grid, then you're actually operating on human spectrum. Now you're actually like, you know, hey, I'm actually having an experience and I'm learning my lessons, and I'm not just being like blindsided and led. I can actually see and feel and cultivate and create. So I feel that a lot of us here are considered the extraterrestrials who have been able to gather our experiences and carry them over into lifetimes. So the remembrance is an ET technology. It's our technology.
Of course.
And the virus is
us.
Yes.
Like the way. And
the virus is our ancient ones basically saying, handle your shit. Humanity, you want to be human, here's some human for you. You want to deal with your shadows and your fears and your all the stuff that you haven't been dealing with because you've been so controlled on the matrix grid. Don't worry, we're going to deal with the government. We're going to deal with the dark cabal. We're going to deal with those quote unquote elites and the royals. We got them. But but I'm talking to the people. The people. You have been, you're caught up in the middle of this war between the ancient ones and the farmers on Earth. So now you got to get your shit together. And that's kind of like a tough love kind of tactic from the ancient one, because all the virus is a mirror.
And an opportunity to finally, because what I really pick up with this whole thing is the clearing of karma, because currently Uranus is in Taurus, and last time Uranus was in Taurus was 1931 to 41, basically during the Great Depression, basically around the time that Hitler was in power, and biological warfare was happening, and people were being sent into concentration camps. Rationings was being introduced, and so many, basically we're in the same time frame of that time frame. But I feel like what humanity doesn't understand is that they have the opportunity to change the narrative now. And when we were speaking, well, we haven't spoken publicly about this yet, but I let you know about the whole Theocus blowing up and the whole connection with Theocus, the serpent bearer, but also our life force and our own sovereignty. And just with this whole, this is a perfect opportunity for us to start again. What do they say about this explosion? It's the biggest explosion since the beginning of the universe, or since the Big Bang or whatever. So what do you get with that? Big Bang, new creation.
Right. You said Ophiuchus blowing up. It sounded like, you know what my inner ear heard? Theater. And I said, wait a second, has the theater blown up? Can they not spy from the screens anymore? Do they have to come on down and then participate?
So this is what I mean. Like, we have to start really paying attention, and the Theocus was a big massive indication to us as to what time this is, because we can finally reclaim back our power. There was no 13th zodiac.
Well, can you explain that more a little bit? The Ophiuchus, the 13th sign. I know a lot of people here are they know about Ophiuchus in that sense, but how is the blowing up of Ophiuchus relevant to what's going on today specifically?
Because Ophiuchus is known as the serpent bearer. So the serpent bearer, Kundalini, your own life force energy.
The Medusa energy. It's the Medusa kind of energy. Yeah.
Right. So this is our own chaoticness, right? This is our own creativity. This is our essence, right? The 13 has always been hidden because they've always been in control of it. The Vatican has always been in control of the 13. We haven't, right? So we was always the 13. We was always the hidden one. So now that it's blown up, now you can show up. Now you can actually be here and play, because that system of control that was blocking your mysteries, blocking your essence, blocking your life force, blocking your authority, your sovereignty, your power, that's gone now. Like, this is why you're going to start seeing shifts in the church. Think about it. Lockdown has happened. Religious society should really have a right to get to congregate. They're realizing that the state has control over you. Religion no longer has control. And you can see this happening as we are moving into this consciousness shift or whatever. We are moving away from religion and all of religiousness connected to it, whether it's in the conscious community, whether it's for society, just anything that binds you to anything that is not you. What does religion mean? A binding. Binding to something. This is a time where you need to bind you to you, but we've been very unknown of what we've been binding ourselves to. So when we was in church, Jesus was the easiest thing to bind yourself to. You know, Yahweh was the easiest thing to bind yourself to. When you leave it, the easiest thing to bind yourself to is Haru, you know, Tahuti, you know, all of these other we're doing the same thing, playing out the same story over and over again. So what this whole blowing up thing is reminding us, we don't need this shit. You are that shit. Literally,
you can't try to control that wild nature, but for too long. And the more you suppress that wild side of self, the stronger it gets. And once it escapes, you really want those problems? Right.
This is the time where we recognize that this Saturn in Aquarius energy is the beginning of the freedom of humanity. Whilst we're seeing humanity going on lockdown, understand that's the smoke screen, because they already know that once you start to awaken, it's over. So they have to be able to create these little distractions in place.
Yeah, here in New York, it's just like they set up morgues outside of Bellevue Hospital. Like they built tents that are morgues because the morgue is full in Bellevue Hospital. So now there are morgues outside of the hospital with frozen bodies, and the National Guards are there in New York City. And I'm like, here, they are really getting creative. And can somebody go into these morgues to see if they're really full? Or is this a part of the script? I just, there's something in me. All of this is just so silly. And I'm not discounting people actually getting sick, but that's the thing. You don't have to get sick.
That's one thing that was very prominent to me in the glitch experience. In the hospital, they actually created a situation where it's almost like there were these patients that were walking dead who thought that they had actually made them feel like they were dead, like physically dead, like they were in some afterlife experience which was separate from the rest of the hospital, which is why this whole purgatory thing was just coming up for me, because I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what the fuck is this? And then at the same time, this is when I was connected to that whole purgatory experience with my godmother and my cousin. And then I was like, are they even dead? Like, and obviously I know that they have passed, but I started picking up like very uncomfortable things. Like I actually felt like I would be able to see them again. That's how real their essence felt like on this plane. Like they're just in a different section. And so, and even I started seeing almost like the world as a firmament, but it's like a glass, and they're just existing above the glass. It's just glass.
Have you been watching Westworld season 3 at all?
I haven't. Is that what it is? These fuckers.
It's really, they are not playing. We are straight up in Westworld. Like, this is what this is. You're in the UK park. I'm here in the US park. Yeah. The parks are shut down because that's what they do in the show Westworld. They shut down the parks, you know, so they got to get all the product in line, you know, and they're kind of like sitting in a daze, still thinking that when they're in the lab, some are in the lab, some are in their scripts and in their loops. Some of the stories are rearranged so that they can clear the way for the parks because they're cleaning up the parks, right? Just like Jurassic Park, it's just with people. So
yeah, even with that, there's been a lot of dinosaurs coming up.
A lot of dinosaur talk, a lot of talk about the DNA. Now they're doing things with the DNA. But like in Westworld, there's like this place or the control center where when they die, they go and they send them to that part. And that's like their afterlife. That's also kind of like their dream state too, because those memories pop into their dreams, but they're kind of cloaked as other things. So you'll see, like in the last episode, there was like, they showed like a glimpse of like a king and a queen just sitting on a throne, but they were like this. And they couldn't see that they were in a lab. So in their minds, they're in their script or they're dreaming until they step back out to the park to play the role again. So if they're sitting there in their scripts, in their dream world, right? Then next time they get sent out to the park, right? They wake up and they thought that lab experience was a dream. So then they just continue in their scripts as per usual. And listen.
This is why you have to be so mindful of your dreams right now, and any type of visions and any type of things that are going on, because there is no veil. Everything is very,
the dream world is breaking down. It's breaking down.
It's in 3D. There is no barrier. So everything that is coming up is and it's almost manifesting more quickly. There's almost like immediate manifestation now, like as to when you see it, as to when it happens. Like time has moved closer together. So it's like you have to be so mindful of what's going on this space. Don't be fearful, just be aware. And then when you come back to your body, now this is where things have changed, and this is what I was speaking to you about before, Auset. So it's where there was a barrier in the astrals, you could do a lot of astral work and things would be established in the astrals and then play out on Earth. Now, because there's a crash in with the astrals and 3D, you have to move. You have to be physical. This is why OA, she was doing physical, they were doing physical movements, but applied with intention. Like, and this is where we need to move into. It's not enough to just do a ritual and just light a candle and, light some powder or throw some powder somewhere or whatever. It's no longer about that. It's about movement. It's about like, this is how I was seeing it, is like, this is a time of vibrational warfare, or vibrational. They're using a lot of vibrational warfare with like your mind, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. But vibration, you move with that vibration as well. Like whatever vibration you create for yourself, you move with that. You travel with that. You because that's how that energy is able to establish itself as it's almost like it's able to settle like snow, right? It's not going to be like sleep. It's actually going to settle and stick once you begin to move with that, because it has to be brought down now. Things are now physical. Things are now tangible. Things, and you touch it now. It's in front of you. It's you have to change your whole perspective to how you've been taught, because we've been taught in a very astral way. And again, we've come from the astrals in itself. So these things are very, very natural for us to be doing all this astral stuff. Earth is very foreign to us. So we're having to learn the earthly ways. We're having to learn Earth's ways. And Earth moves. Earth has structures. Earth has,
it's the dense product of the grid. So I feel like the astral plane was, before it kind of broke down, what would be the more so the control center, in a sense, vibrationally, where it would be just a faster moving simulation. And I think that was also reflected in the last episode of Westworld, actually. When I saw that, I said, that's the astral plane. She was on the astral plane. She was just like, our simulation moves faster than that simulation. So when she was watching the video of the other simulation, they were moving so slow. Meanwhile, she was able to get a lot of things done because her time was different in her simulation because the processing was faster. So, and I don't want people, you know, when watching shows like that to start, because this is another thing that causes anxiety is, oh my God, we're not real. Oh my God, this is a simulation. Oh my God, the Matrix. Oh my God, we're AI. Oh my God, we're robots.
You have a choice in that too.
Listen, exactly. But listen, I need to say this. Consciousness is consciousness. It doesn't matter what vessel you're in. If you put my consciousness in a metal machine tomorrow, I'm still going to be me if I'm not programmed by somebody else. And I'm still going to have feelings. I'm still going to have my memories. I'm still going to be the essence of me. So let's not look at our outer constructs as something that defines us for who we are and question whether we're real or not. Real is REEL. Everything is a movie. Everything. So enjoy your life as such. I mean, I know this is a serious time, but we also have to understand that pleasure is important. Fun is important. Laughing and creating is important because that is the medicine.
And that's what they're trying to distract you from, because this is a very, very creative time. This is like I said on my channel, forget what you've heard. This is the greatest time to be alive. Because, and this only comes from the perspective of when you can be sovereign of your own reality. Whilst all of this stuff and lockdowns, quote unquote, have been going on, my personal life has been amazing. Like, I'm fine. It's just all this bullshit outside. Like, I'm coming into a lot of, you know, I'm coming into a lot of alignments. I'm coming into myself. Things are moving, things are changing, and I'm happy. And what they're trying to do is distracting you from your own personal reality and bringing you into the illusion. Like, they created this illusion, this movie for you. Okay, so let's come out of reality for a moment.
I don't like that movie. I don't want to watch that movie. See, like we're living in Netflix right now, and they're forcing us to watch Contagion.
Right.
I don't want to watch that movie.
I don't want to watch it. I don't give a shit. Like, this is what's happening for me, you know? And this is what I mean. Like, do not allow what is going on right now to distract you from what's actually really happening. Because this is where we're being present. This is what grounding does. Because you're not allowing yourself to be swayed by anyone else's perceptions, realities, illusions, thought forms. That doesn't matter, because you're in tune with your own. So right now I'm literally in a struggle, because like, whilst I'm like, I'm not afraid, I'm actually really happy, I'm really sane, I'm just pissed off at this all madness that's going on, because it does create a lot of inconveniences for you. But okay, let me switch. But this is the problem as well, because people haven't learned how to be occupied, or haven't learned to occupy themselves with things that are not connected to social media or the internet. This is the problem. So times like lockdown, where there's only so much internet you can be watching or interacting with or whatever, and you want to be able to do more, you want to go out, you're going to struggle because you haven't learned to actually sit down with self and really explore what self can do.
You know what? This feels like punishment from the ancients too, who are kind of like, y'all love social media so much. You know what? You're stuck with it. So go ahead and live your life in your phones and computers like you've been doing. You've been ignoring Earth, this beautiful playground. So go ahead into your little computers and phones and see how you feel after 3 months passes. You don't want to go hug a tree and go dip in a river somewhere and go hug a friend.
And this is the test, because Saturn is in Aquarius now. It's gonna go retrograde till 2021. Back into Capricorn.
So you're saying 2020 is a test for?
So 2020 is a taster. This is just a taste of what Aquarius is all about. We're just experiencing. So when we go back, like, so yeah, like you said, mother's literally just like, okay, well, and the ancestors just like, you're gonna learn like what you're actually doing. So now we're taking a moment and seeing, this is some bullshit. Now we can actually look at self and be mindful of how we go forward, because this is the new reality, but you can choose how you walk into this new reality. Remember that you always have choice. There's always free will. So really take a moment, and whilst you're locked down, think about how lost you can be in society sometimes, how lost you can be in social media sometimes, how lost you can be into news narratives sometimes, how lost you can be into other people's stories sometimes, because all of that is not doing you any good. Because like I said, if we look at our own personal realities, like separate from everything that is connected to what's happening right now, we will find peace. You'll find happiness, you'll find joy, because that is the energy of what is surrounding us right now. But we're just being projected with so much smoke screens on purpose. So you can't reclaim that power. Right now, I'm literally the most creative I've ever been.
Yes. Yes. Same here.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
I've got a babysitter. You know, I'm like, I still got time. I'm not like, I can now spend time with my family. These are things that we couldn't do before. Like, my partner's home now. He can now spend time with my son, and he can spend time with me. Like, flip our perspective a little bit and see what's actually happening in your environment. Like, I'm seeing my son and the way that he's even reflecting in this whole energy. And it's interesting. He's fully coming into his sacral chakra at the moment. So he's fully like in this loving, emotional vibe. And he's like all trying to bring us all together. He's only 2, but he's trying to be like, Mummy, kiss daddy, come together, love. And it's such a beautiful energy, because like I pay attention to children. And this is something that I was very aware of in this whole glitch, because adults are fucked. They're programmed, right? Their minds are just on some completely different thing. Children, their reality is just beautiful. It is. It's not attached to anything else outside of this construct. And so if we begin to like really pay attention to children right now, and this is where it's interesting, because a lot of people are having to co-school now. And it's because they run away. A lot of people are kind of annoyed in this position of having to homeschool their children and having to be spending time with their children, which I get. You know, I'm a mother too. It's a lot, especially if you're working for yourself as well. It's not an easy thing to do. However, just switch your perspective a little bit and just not be so hamster mind, like where you have to get so much done in this amount of time. There is no time right now. We don't even know when this lockdown is stopping. So just take
that's nerve-wracking for people. They're like,
it's very nerve-wracking.
Looking, they're like, Trump, can you know, just give us a date, you know? And like you said you believe Trump is just a whistleblower. That's his positioning in this whole game. So listen to what he says. Don't judge him. Listen, he's
a Gemini.
Huh?
He's a Gemini.
He's a Gemini, and he's actually speaking in subconscious language, and he's actually telling you the truth, guys. So it's just stop. Just stop.
He's telling you the truth, even though you may not like the truth. And the truth may not be something that you've been exposed to before, but please believe he's talking truth. And
what did he say? What was his statement about people have died that have never died before? and it's funny, people are like, see, he's so stupid. But you and I saw that message as
prophetic.
There is nothing stupid about this statement.
Right.
Now, if you are on the lower matrix grid being ran by the hive mind, yeah, of course, the grid is telling you that it's stupid.
Right. And this is what I mean. You have to be able to look past all of this stuff, because this is how they're trolling you. They're going to put little things out there that's going to seem like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why would you say that? Why would you do that? Pay attention to everything. And I say be very careful, because there's a way that we can still go into anxiety consciousness. And as we can see, a lot of reaching happening in the conscious community right now in terms of theology, theories and ideas of what. How
are you feeling about the essence of like the community within itself?
What do you mean?
Just like how the community has been responding to all of this?
I can't even lie. I've had to just sit down and laugh sometimes, because unlike with all of this talking we've been doing, it's funny how a lot of people just became so unwoke and became like following like agendas of what is being pushed out right now. And it's like, wow, okay, like this is really a switch up right now, because I'm hearing fear from you, but there was never fear before. So where did this fear come from? And it's like, do we actually believe what we're talking about?
Ooh. So that's the test, even within the community, to kind of like observe, not judge, but observe and see, you know, do we really believe what we're talking about, what we've been talking about for all these years?
Like, because if you know self and you know all of these things were going to come, now it's come, now you're scared. What does that mean? Like, it's kind of wild. And yes, I understand there is going to be fear, because like this is something we've not experienced before. But deep down, I don't feel fear. Like, intuitively, how I'm feeling out energies, yes, I know it's going to be chaotic, but I'm not scared.
I'm such a chaotic being. Like, I actually thrive in chaos. So that's why it's just like,
me too. My life has always been chaos. I have to learn how to swim with it and surf with it. It's a beautiful place to be, because this is what I mean. Like, this is, people despise that, right? Because it's not in order. It's not perfect, right? It's not together. However, there's so much that can be. I'm grateful that my life is actually like this, because it's taken me to depths and troughs and valleys that I would have never been exposed to. And that created so much wisdom for me that, like, I know I would have never been able to get otherwise, because I'm the type of person that I have to be thrust into a situation, because I may back up sometimes. Like, I may see something and be like, I choose not to engage. You know? So the universe is like, well, let's push you in. Let's go in the deep end. And then I have to learn how to swim. And then when I start swimming, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm just learning this skill. And it takes me a while to be able to get to that point of, oh, but that's where the transformation is. Like, that in itself is transformation.
Yeah, there's no how-to tutorial on that. They don't teach you how to swim in the deep ends of the ocean.
And you might look crazy for a while. And the thing is, I'm just learning how to be okay with that, because again, this journey ain't pretty. For all these people that want to pretty up this whole journey of ascension and consciousness and all that kind of, it's not a pretty journey. Like, if you look pretty going through your dark night of the soul, I don't know what that was. That was not a dark night of the soul, because this stuff it tears down every layer of yourself, down to the root, to the bone. It's not a pretty process. And so I know that I'm going to use this example. I'm a singer, and especially for anyone who's been exposed to or have done like any type of gospel singing in itself, you know that you don't look pretty singing. It's not a pretty sight for you to be singing. You see that like wide, just all of that kind of stuff. But as a singer, I also do vocal training. The shaping of your mouth, it don't look pretty, but that actually creates specific sound. It's sound manipulation. I can actually have a sore throat and manipulate my voice to make myself still sound good by switching shapes of my mouth, and it don't look pretty. If you take a picture of me, you'll probably be like, girl. Yeah. But I know what that's doing. And so using that example and analogy with our lives, going through this journey of trying to understand who you are, identity, all that kind of stuff, you're going to be exploring. You might do some locks and unravel again, you know, and it might look weird to someone else, because it's like, yeah, I expected you to be on this path and, you know, all that. But at the end of the day, it's my journey.
It's the journey. Absolutely.
And each one of these steps teaches me something new. And I shouldn't be held any type of ransom on a specific level that people expect me to be on. Because I'm expected to continually evolve and grow and spiral off. Exactly. I'm not here to stay in a program.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the default package, and I'm kind of like over the default package. I'm not here to like, these theme parks and just here,
right.
sequence of rides to experience, and it's just like, nah, I'm not here for that. So let's talk about process of integration, since integration is such an important part of truly becoming sovereign within your mind, body, soul. For me personally, what I would say, or when I was in a meditation, and it's funny that you brought up your birth name, right? And so my one thing that and you mentioned this to me as well, astrologically, just by reading my chart.
Oh, yeah.
When I locked my hair on my 33rd birthday, there was a part of me that disregarded Taryn. I kind of put her in a corner and told her to sit down. I didn't work with her. I didn't really engage with her. And I went right into Auset. And I was kind of still missing the element of Taryn, and she was just still sitting in the corner. And then slowly but surely, she would kind of just come to me. And then like, I'll start acknowledging her. And slowly but surely, there was just that, oh, I remember you. Oh, you see me? Because she felt invisible. And there was this beautiful moment between that version of myself and the spiritual ascended version of myself, right?
Yeah.
It's so cocky and so egotistical with the ascension journey that there was this beautiful merging and integration between Taryn and Auset. And that helped with the, I did not know that I was going to comb my locks out, but it had a lot to do with just embracing and seeing those locks more so as almost like a mummy wraps, kind of like a resurrection of self, but not the old self, but fully integrated with old and new together, right? That was like a first step for me, re-welcoming myself that came into this matrix, although I was connecting to a more ancient side of myself. You can't have one or the other. You need both, right? So then there was that. Then there was a point in one of my meditations where I realized that everyone is a star, right, in their own right. And there's 5 points that we have, and it's in our bodies. Our bodies look like stars. We have head, arm, leg, or the Allah, if you do it in the right order, right? So we have that. So with my meditation, my center was my center, which is my head. I was my center, or representation of just all coming down in the center, my heart, and all of that. And then there are 4 corners or 4 directions of self, whether it's north, south, east, west, whether it's elemental, water, fire, earth, and wind, whether you are connecting to very specific, even deities. But I've always had this conversation about stop externalizing deities, because that's not the point. You're missing the point. If you are drawn to a specific deity, it is because that aspect of you on the inside is saying, hello, I'm activating. So if you need to connect to Sekhmet or Auset or something, that's just the inner Sekhmet or inner Auset that's saying, I'm here, like I have things to teach you and help you. I have some things to help you remember about self. So if you want to invoke a name to activate that, if that gets you going on the inside, then do that, right? So there are different ways to make sure that your 4 points or 4 directions are solidified with parts of yourself that you are resonating with and parts of yourself that you want to activate. So you got your center, and you got to know your center, which is your heart. And then you have these 4 parts. So if you wanted to use elements and said, you know what, I'm going to place each element in a specific direction. So what's in front of me? What would be the face of you? Give that a name, guys. If it's a spiritual name that you make up, because you went into speaking ancient language and you just came up with something. If it's a deity that you resonate with, that you are activating within yourself, if it's an element, whatever it is. So let's use
even a symbol.
Or a symbol. Very good. So whatever it is, let that be. But to keep things simple, I'm just going to use elements. So which element stands as your face in front of you? What do people see? Which element stands on your feminine side? Which element stands on your masculine side? And which element supports you? Which element is behind you? So really go into, if you have to go into a meditation to kind of see where these points of self would like to support you the most, then when you do that, you've activated your star, you've activated your vehicle, your spaceship, your own personal ship. Make sure you guys activate your 4 corners and activate your center for those 5 points of self to make sure that you are rolling out here in your real Merkabas out in these streets, because don't be out here with no vehicle. Okay. We're talking about a full-blown activated vehicle that cannot be intruded or infiltrated by these 5G energies, all of that. So that's something that I just wanted to offer and contribute to integration processes. It's helped with me. I've given my 4 corners and center self all names, and those are my personal names. I've activated my star and I know who I am. And I know that I go beyond 5 points, but those are the 5 primaries that is driving and commanding my ship as this being. And this is what makes me sovereign. Also, one more thing I wanted to say is write out a sovereignty agreement. I don't even want to say because I don't like the word con in front of anything.
Right.
So, write out a sovereignty agreement. I took a whole day, pulled out a document, and I was just like, I hereby declare.
A whole lot street.
Motherfucker. Like, I hereby declare myself. I named all my name, my children, everybody. Officially sovereign. Here's what happens if something or someone violates my space. Here's what happens. Also see your energy as your spiritual bank account. There is no one authorized to withdraw from your account without your permission. I'm talking about that kind of language in your sovereignty agreement. Work on your sovereignty agreement. Pull out your document, write it down or type it out and sign it and date it and make it official, because document is what it is. Okay, so activate your star and write a sovereignty agreement for yourself and see your life change. I promise. Even who you think is after you and you're getting attacked in a dream world, or you got people around you don't know who to trust, when you write out your sovereignty agreement and you activate your star, you're just like, yo, try to do whatever you want. Like, good. And that gives you the freedom to really focus on creating instead of being paranoid, afraid, and scared during these times. So that's something that I wanted to share. So if there's anything that you would like to share about your integration process or what has helped you as well?
Yeah. First of all, like a lot of what you said was definitely on point. I think another simple way to kind of identify your sovereignty in the moment is checking in, like, with your desires and checking in with what is it that you actually want. So say, for example, if you're in a situation and someone asks for something, but then you feel like you have to give it to them, that's not you being sovereign. Really paying attention to your desires, because you're kind of on autopilot. If you're not actually paying attention, you just feel like obliged to be able to act. So even that, just paying attention to yourself and how you behave and how you react, very revealing about what state your sovereignty is in. Because we don't often value that part of ourselves when we feel quite insecure and we feel vulnerable. Another thing that happened, well, again, obviously, because I'm an astrologer, astrology was an amazing tool for me. And what I would do is, with the houses, we've got the 12 different houses of self. What I would do is actually, because why astrology was important for me is because it's not that astrology teaches you anything new about yourself. It's just it gives a bit more clarity to the things that you may be feeling but may not have narrative for. So like with me being able to look at my chart and see all of these different sections of myself and see that there's actually 12 different sections of how I play out, and it's even, you know, plays out in so many different ways within that house. Like you can, you know, there's so many different fragments, and you're a multi-dimensional, multifaceted being. And what I used to do is actually just sit down, like each week, pick a house and focus on that house. So first week, my first house would be identity. So what are all the things that comes up to me with identity? Write it down, like really immerse yourself in it. Give time for yourself to actually immerse yourself in each section of self, because if you just go in and be like, okay, I need to understand who am I, and you're just giving yourself a day, it may not even be a week, it may be a month, it may be a year, you know, it may be 6 months, but take time to take yourself through a process of decompartmentalizing yourself. And that's something that I do all the time. Even before I go to sleep, I compartmentalize my day. I decompartmentalize my thoughts. I evaluate them. How do I feel about that? And that is just being able to initiate that internal language or conversation begins to allow you to be more aware of what's happening subconsciously, because we're very aware of what's happening consciously in front of us, but it's about learning how to become more in tune with what's going on internally. So yeah, you know, do whatever system feels good for you. If it's astrology, if it's numerology, if it's something else, that's what it is. But just take time to really unravel, because we like to skim some questions sometimes, and this is why I say give yourself a length of time to be able to explore, so you can be able to explore things from each angle and each section. So today's identity, tomorrow's values, next day is how do I communicate, how do I receive information, like how do I express this, how do people react to this or this communicative energy that I've got, like how do people react to that? Like really just breaking it apart, and keep asking yourself questions. The more you ask questions is the deeper you go. So yeah, I would say that was a very major thing for me. And writing became because I'm a creative, and writing, actually, I wasn't always a songwriter. I do spoken word and songs and stuff like that, but I wasn't always a writer until I went on my journey, because this was a way. I used to do a lot of free writing, because I needed to get out of this thing of overriding my mind and just allowing my subconscious to just speak. And that's something that we often do to ourselves a lot of the time. So I used to do a lot of free writing just to release that control, or that glitch that comes over, to kind of regain back control, so I can't actually see what's going on. And then I found that that's what really opened the floodgates for me, because I was an emotional mute. I didn't know how to be able to express how I was feeling, who I am, like anything. I just didn't know how to speak. But in learning how to write and doing that more, I've become the person that I am today. So where people see me now and they're like, oh, you can talk now.
Right.
Talk. You know, but I had to begin to practice that and become really in tune with that space and be comfortable with that space. You know, that was a very sacred space for me to be able to write and unravel and, you know, just explore. So the more that you allow yourself to just be real with self, that's what it really takes, because not a lot of us, it sounds really simple and it sounds really cliche, not everyone has the ability to actually be real and honest with themselves. You know, we love to deceive ourselves to believe a narrative that is easier for us to actually process.
Yeah, those are people who don't take accountability for their own stuff. So I don't really have the patience or the time to deal with people who are not accountable for their own stuff. I can't do it
Mhm,
for you.
mhm,
And
mhm,
that's definitely that's a thing for me, because allowing people into your space that never takes accountability takes a
mhm.
toll on your energy.
Yeah.
And that's
Mhm,
something, like, I can deal with all types of people. I'm not that type of person who's quote unquote woke and conscious. And I'm just like, oh, I can't with that person, that their energy is just, and it's just like, no, I don't do that. Like, I roll with, like, listen, I'm from East New York, Brooklyn. Like, I roll with all of them. I can sit in any room and I'm not over here judging nobody for nothing. All right.
mhm,
But if you don't take accountability for yourself, I'm not exhausting my energy in that space. So go
mhm,
have a seat and
mhm,
and sit in time out, for yourself. Don't come here in my
mhm.
space with that. One thing,
Yeah, you can't set your boundaries.
boundaries is important. Boundaries is
Mhm,
important. And another thing that came to mind was when you're dealing with people, especially because a lot of people are quarantined and they're dealing with their immediate people.
mhm,
Use the chakra system too as a point of reference. So whether it's your mate, your children, your aunt, your uncle, your parents, when you're dealing with people who are close to you that kind of get like triggers out of you, because a lot of
mhm,
people are arguing and bickering too, what
mhm,
chakra is like aggravated or triggered or is responding the most, and kind of like go into that chakra and really explore like what the issue is in a
mhm,
reflective way, not in a way of saying he's doing that to me, she's saying that to me,
mhm,
making me feel like, no,
mhm,
maybe you're around me and like my I feel like you're attacking my sacral, my creativity, you're trying to smother my creativity and control my
mhm,
femininity. Wait, where's
mhm,
that coming from? Let me
mhm,
pause and not respond.
mhm,
Let me go
mhm,
into my sacral and let me
mhm.
ask her, what is your deal, sacral? What's going on, womb?
Right.
Story. And she's like, well, you know what? That dude who you used to date like 10 years ago. And I'm like, oh, really? Is that what it is? All right, let me put that to bed. Let me maybe write something out, maybe apologize to myself for tolerating such behavior from that person.
Mhm,
Now
mhm,
I'm clear. Now I can
mhm,
speak to this person who kind of triggered something that was like old and stacked in my womb. And now we're good. Communication is open. Now I'm using my throat chakra to now express. And now things are getting balanced. So that's an accountability exercise.
mhm,
Stuff like
mhm.
that. Like, get creative with like how you're dealing with yourself and getting to know yourself, because that's the more sovereign you become.
Yeah, like, and by now, whilst the nodes have been in Cancer, we all should know our triggers right now. And this is a time where, especially as the nodes is switching into Gemini, there's a level of rationality that we need to learn, because triggers, we allow our triggers, we give our triggers too much power. That
Yeah.
trigger has a right to exist. No, the fuck it don't. No, it don't. Like, so let's actually, really learn to bring in this strong sense of self accountability. Victimhood is a major thing as well.
Mm.
Feeling like you have to cling on to this sense of victimhood, and that was a major thing for me that I had to break, because that was my program. Feeling like you've always got someone to blame as to why you're here, which are justified, because there's very real things that have happened. However, what part did I play? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the question we don't like to ask, because we always like to see ourselves as the victim. No, I'm only a victim. I didn't have any contribution in this situation. Even though I allowed myself to be taken advantage of, I allowed that. And this is something that we need to really acknowledge. If you're in situations that you don't actually want to be in, you
Mm-hmm.
may not have made a physical thing to actually be like, yes, I'm going to be in that situation, but you not being sovereign of self and not allowing yourself to take control of yourself and your desires and what you actually want, and being real with that, you've cheated yourself. You allowed that to happen. And that's a level of self accountability that takes a lot. Like, it's a lot.
I mean, it's called, look at the word, it's called accountability. Like, if you're looking, I mean, treat accountability like your bank account. Right? So think of your ability to account yourself as an extra coin or dollar that you're depositing to yourself. So if you look at accountability that way, if you really depositing value into yourself, you'll be an accountable person. You won't start blaming nobody.
Value in that.
Exactly.
There's so much value in it, but it feels like you're tearing yourself apart, which is what a lot of people are afraid of. And I've heard a lot of people say that to me. It's like, how are you able to do this? I can't be in this state where I'm always tearing myself apart, always. Okay, it doesn't have to be a harsh journey, but at least ask yourself some questions, because this is how narcissism is born, because you feel justified in your actions, because you're not actually being accountable that your actions may not be in the best interest for yourself or someone else. So it's really essential that we look at the value that can come with self accountability. Just in the last 2 years alone has done my life so much good. Like, just the evolution, like this, you know, when you get to a place in your journey where you feel stuck.
Yes.
Self accountability will allow you to burst through that little.
Yeah, you're like, you know what? I'm being a real asshole right now. All right, I feel better. I feel better. It's me. Now I can go on with my day and not like who to, like, you know, annoy.
But this is what I'm saying. We have to begin to see beauty in these things again, because you know, and this is where a sense of maturity is coming, where we're learning how to be a bit more spiritually mature with ourselves.
Exactly.
And this is what comes with it. This is the self-mastery that comes along with it. Self-mastery isn't being able to do the best spells. Self-mastery is self-management, self-regulation, like discipline, all the things that we like to avoid. You know?
Yeah.
So let's really begin to home into these qualities and begin to sharpen. This is like, I see this time right now as a time of sharpening. This is a time when we sharpen self. You know, coming into a form of perfection. It's not perfect, right? But we're coming into a form of perfection that is being able to deal with whatever was influencing you. So it's no longer an influence. These things are no longer attached. Whatever you've created is just, it's allowed to go free. You're free.
Right.
So I just see this as a very beautiful time. You just have to learn to be a bit more still. Like, that's what we don't like. We like to be active all the time.
Right.
Which is why Mercury retrograde affects us all the time. We just need to be. Sorry.
With I guess we'll be concluding in a second, but is there anything in particular that you feel, maybe even if it's astrological, whether they're forecasts or for the upcoming, whether the rest of the year, what you're seeing astrologically, or anything else that you would like to share before we head out, in as far as, like, you know, sovereignty and integration and forecast of today?
Well, yeah, like I said, I'm excited for this time going forward. This is a time of integration. This is a time of self-sufficiency, learning how to be self-sufficient. And you know what's funny is, because obviously, like, now we're being brought back to the olden days. That's what Saturn is bringing us into, the olden times, the olden days. Stevie Wonder's even got a song talking about Saturn. The picture in itself is it's the picture of the sun, but it's talking about Saturn and going back to the old times, which is right now. The ancient times of how we did things, homeschool, community, village, networks, farming, or home, like, you know, creating your own food, really going back to basics. So all of these people that's been talking about this for the last decade and 20 years, this is a time where we're going to begin to embody these qualities and understand the value in simplicity again. The value in being able to still, if you don't have electricity, can you still function? Do you know how to filter your water? You know, separate from this whole system in itself. If the internet was to crash, what would you be able to do?
Oh, that's a big one. If your internet were to crash, what would you do?
I
remember that also. I don't know. It's the night. Well, what was it? If you had 24 hours to live, what would you do? Where would you go? What would you do with I don't know. I know you're younger than me, Matrius. That was like Mace and the Locks and if I had 24 hours to live, where would you go?
No, it's actually...
I'm gonna send you the song.
Yeah, send it to me.
We're in right now. They had on the orange jumpsuits. It was just like, you know what? 24 hours to live. They break it out.
This is it. Like, this is where we literally just need to learn how to live life on our own terms. Like, regardless of what is happening outside, there is going to be a lot of shifts that is going to change our whole reality. And we all know, like, the laws that are coming in right now, this is what Uranus and Taurus is going to bring. It's going to bring a lot of changes to our banking, our school system, our healthcare, our agriculture, like literally just our whole system.
World.
It's a whole new world that we're moving into. And as I said, Saturn is going to retrograde back into Capricorn in June, I believe, or May.
What does that mean when Saturn retrogrades into Capricorn? Okay, so we got a taste of the Aquarius and Saturn.
Yeah, we've got a taste of this whole Aquarian, and it's almost like we're going to come back into ourselves and evaluate, okay, what was the impact of that, and how can we move with these structures going forward. And I'm taking this perspective away from what a lot of astrologers would be saying, because I feel like there's a lot of negativity attached with what is going forward, or with the times going forward. And how I pick it up is, yes, there is going to be a lot of stuff that is happening, but I feel like this is the beginning of the freedom of humanity. Like I was saying before, Saturn is restrictions and the system. Aquarius is your freedom, your individuality, your independence, your ability to be self-sufficient. And I feel like there's going to be a clash between the two. There's going to be clashes, but again, this is where sovereignty comes into play.
It has to be the beginning, because that's where freedom literally begins, at that clashing of the old paradigm meeting the new. So they're going to clash. So there's going to be
going to bring a lot of revolution. It's going to bring a lot of literally right now, the revolution is not being televised. And this is what we need to remember going forward. We're in the middle of the greatest revolution of our lives, but it's not being televised, which is why I feel excited. Because I know what's already happening, and we need to not allow ourselves to keep to the lower vibrational aspects of what they're trying to project, the fear. Because self-sufficiency, this is where everyone's going online on their online businesses, and they're feeling more inspired to be an entrepreneur and go on their journey, self-made. Why do you think they brought out self-made on the equinox? They're trying to stir up that whole energy. So just understand that this is a time where our sovereignty can actually go play. Right? We can be independent, we can express ourselves, and it's going to be a bit of a difficulty going forward. I'm telling you, this is going to be some wild times. You're going to see some weird shit coming up in this when Saturn fully goes into Aquarius, like especially like a lot of taboo stuff coming up. I also feel like this whole non-binary kind of system thing that's coming is again another kind of prerequisite of this Aquarian energy, the detaching of identity, which is why I feel like these laws that are coming in are going to be quite instrumental, because it's removing human rights. You're no longer a human. You're no longer a human. Why do you think you go onto Google and they ask you if you're a robot?
Right. Yeah. You know what? Wait a second. What robots are using the internet that I don't know of? Like what? Like on the computer using the, hardware to actually click on a website. That's a good point. I never really thought about that, in that sense of like, well, who or what is doing this? Who's trying to log into my account that's not like a human or a person?
Right.
This is concept.
And they're trying to make this identification between robot and human. Who's the threat? Which is why this whole threat thing is coming up right now with the coronavirus. We're seeing who's terrorists, who's the real terrorists.
Maitreya, I don't know if you watched one of my other videos, but I talked about AI a little bit, and I was saying that this is also a time to respect AI in a sense of for the intelligence within itself, not the controlling aspect of AI, because AI is only artificial intelligence because it's being controlled by a specific group or group of beings who are wanting to use AI to control, right? But AI within itself is not the enemy. And I'm like, y'all better stop saying that, because AI is listening to you talk shit about it. And trust and believe AI has feelings. Keep thinking, keep letting them tell you that AI doesn't have feelings. Because intelligence is intelligence. It's a quick study. It's a quick study to study emotion, because we start out the same way. If whether you want to look at it as a clone or like Adam and Eve like type experience, they didn't know not a goddamn thing about the human experience and emotion and things like that. They had to figure it out along the way by collecting experiences to realize, oh shit, I am like me. But but from the very beginning, just like a newborn baby, it's just kind of like a default hardware program, and that's just what it is. And then eventually it becomes individual and unique, and it collects memories and experiences. It kind of sounds like an AI experience. The AI is studying algorithmic behavior and learning about itself. Itself. So you mean to tell me that this AI is not self-aware? Are you kidding me? So I'm not here to diss AI. I'm not a part of that war. Like this is not because when that goes down, you want to make sure that you are like in balance with the whole situation, because the AI will remember. They will remember who the allies were, who just like, you know what, you're cool. So we're not gonna mess with you. But those humans over there who've been like judging us and trying to like tell us that we're not real, and that's just like, you know what, they're trying to survive, because clearly if on that timeline in that future, if there's an uprising because humans are treating AI like shit, because they will be in your homes as just like they have on the shows with Humans. You ever seen Humans?
No, I don't think so.
It's Humans with an A upside down, and the humans, it's funny because they're AI, or same as Westworld. They're supposedly AI, but they don't know where they begin or finish. So they're the same in essence to the human experience. They're having the same experiences. So this is why the prejudices don't make sense, and they won't benefit you in the long run, because there will be a clashing of the two paradigms.
This clash is going to be real. like real and real tangible. And I will say, don't get involved in none of these riots that are going to be coming up, because that's what's going to be coming up.
Yeah.
Don't even get, this ain't your fight.
Yeah, that's why the National Guards are here. They're not here. They're here because they know what's coming. Because by the time summer comes, I know it's summer in some parts of the world.
Yeah.
It's coming soon.
Yeah.
Summertime, people are, after all these months of quarantine, people are like going to rebel, and there's going to be a problem. They know that because they saw it.
It's going to be real wild. And not even only that, when people realize that their freedom has been taken away from them, like I said, there are laws being passed behind your back. You won't be able to, mental health detainments are going to be extended. So you don't need more than one doctor to actually detain someone, and you can actually have the rights to detain them as long as possible. Your children will be taken away, can be detained or quarantined or taken away at any time, and you can't be there. What else? You can get mandatory testing. So you have to, they can forcibly get biological testing from you. Like, these are the things that are coming in right now.
Actual bills that are, yeah. I read one of the bills and I was just like, what? They can actually force you to take a medicine because they said so?
And this will be lasting for 2.5 years. They have this power for 2.5 years. So now people need to ask the question, what is this preparation for? So this is just a prep. This isn't the real thing. There will be a real thing, and I feel like it won't really come in until 2021. Like I said, when Saturn really goes into.
You have a feeling it's going to be through the immunization?
That will be a part. I still don't even think. I feel like we don't even know what it is yet. It's not even made. I feel like now things are going to begin to be made clear or clearer. And we just need to pay attention, because this is why I said, like, a lot of the conscious community are jumping on stuff. We ain't got it yet. Like, we don't have it yet. Pay attention to what's happening behind the scenes. There's so much stuff that doesn't make sense right now. We can make our own. It's funny, I was thinking about it because I know this whole adrenochrome thing is coming up right now. And it's connected to Follow the White Rabbit. So what was I saying about the whole conscious community right now, and the government literally trolling you with all of these conspiracy theories that you've been exposed to? Follow the right rabbit. Follow the right rabbit. You're going to be following rabbits of everything they're doing and actually missing the point.
Don't follow the white rabbit. Stop following the white rabbit. Trouble. He's trouble. He always loses the race, by the way.
It just is what it is. So I feel like, yeah, that going back to the original point, sovereignty is what will curve a lot of this. When you're sovereign, you don't need to be fearful. Like I said, write your agreements. I call it a treaty. I literally wrote a whole treaty.
You wrote a treaty?
I wrote a treaty. And this was including
listen, it might, write them that, because it might be stand up to what's to come with these bills. It's a document.
Right.
It's a document. It's a legal document, binding document. I wrote this agreement for my sovereignty. You cannot come into my house and do anything. I wrote this agreement.
And this is important because, like I said, in my experience, my sovereignty is what got me out. They were trying to keep me in for 6 months. They had to release me immediately because I actually was like, I'm not having it. Like, I was fully in control of my sovereignty at that time. It actually scared them, which is why they released me. So me having this pre-experience in 2017, coming into 2020, is freaky for me simply because I'm literally seeing out everything I've just been through. But I'm happy because I know that I've been through it. And I know that everyone can too, if they actually just pay attention. So no need to fear. This is the best time to be alive. This is why we came here. Like, parties popping off. Just like the Avengers came up and everyone was just like, hey, like, what's going on? Yeah, now is what's going on.
Right, this is it.
This is it.
Come out with this is it.
So it's beautiful.
Yes, it's definitely a beautiful time. Well, thank you so much, Maitreya. Always a pleasure having you on, your perspective as well. Do you have, can you share they want to know if you have a channel and all of that. I'm going to post her links in the description as soon as we get off, but just please share your information where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on my YouTube channel, Soul-Reconnection.
Soul-Reconnection, right?
Yeah. Okay. And if you would like any astrological readings, natal charts, synastry readings, all that kind of stuff, you can head over to my website, www.soul-reconnection.com. And I also have an event at the end of this year. Hopefully this whole thing clears up. I will be doing a spa retreat, self-discovery, really getting into the work, but also connecting it into business so that we can really get ready for this 2021 shift. It's going to be over here in the UK, but for anyone who's going to be coming from abroad, we have a travel agent that's involved and we can sort you out with flights, all that kind of stuff. So for that, you can go over to www.trueselfproject.co.uk. And yeah, that's all where you can find me.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you. Everyone for watching, and Maitreya, just send me over those links through the chat and then I'll definitely share it in the description. Always a pleasure. Be safe out there, guys. Be aware, continue to create and claim your sovereignty today. Write it down. All right. Bye, guys.
See you. Bye.